Hello, welcome to the Lockdown Workshop again. Part 2 of the Planet X Pro Carbon CX that's absolutely knackered. We got a dog visitor. Oh no, it's a large child and a dog. Just to give you some contrast on where we are weather-wise from a few weeks ago when we were out here. Look at that now. Lovely. Spring has sprung. It's a steady 18 degrees out there this morning. That's centigrade, not Fahrenheit, depending on where you're tuning in from. So let's get cracking on this. If you remember last time, we stripped all the components off that needed cleaning. We started looking into these brakes that need cleaning. Brake pads were pretty much non-existent. That's the better of the two sides. They are... Can't find them now. Where did I put them? The really bad sets were pretty much bald. Have I launched them on the floor? I probably chucked them in the bin, to be honest. But there was no meat left on those. The gear cables were pretty much worn. The crank bearings are okay. Wheel bearings were okay on the front wheel. I think the back wheel was good, front wheel wasn't good, so I need to go and sort them out today. Nearly forgot about them. Clean the brakes, clean up the gear mechanisms, put them all back together, and most of all, because the chain was so knackered, we've got a new chain ring to put on, new chain to put on, new brake pads to put on, and I think we've got some tape as well, but I'm not sure which bike the tape was for, because I think Jenny might have got confused and was buying tape for that rather than that. So we'll have a just check where she wants that tape put in, and then we'll see where we are. Let's get cracking. I think what we'll do first is we'll get the bike built up. We'll get the crank sorted out, get that off and get that cleaned up. Clean the brakes up, get the brake cable set up, and then we'll sort the wheels out. Right, bring you back in a minute because it looks like I need to switch batteries. Right, let's get this crank off first. I've not done one of these SRAMs before, so it's a bit of a guess as to which way this comes off. We'll go with its standard right-hand thread and a left-hand thread. Oh God, that was loose. that did not bode well. That was not torqued. Bit worrying. Surprised we weren't getting any chain crank on that, to be honest. That's assuming they do. Rather than me do this backwards, let me. Let's see if I can switch this around. Bring you around here. Can you see that? I can see what I'm doing now. It does look like that was the dust cover actually. Now I've got into it. Yep, dust cover. Put it in the tin. Guess that is a. Looks like a 6. No. Next size up. Yep. It's an 8. So again, we'll have a guess that this comes off on a left-hand thread. Now this should be torqued up to at least 40 newtons. Oh. It's the other way round. Right, sometimes you just have to get the big guns out. The big persuader is out. kids, I don't recommend you do this at home, but if you look at what I'm doing, I'm bracing it on the crank arm pedal spline and the actual pivot point on that, so it should give me more. There you go, it's gone this time. So this is a big Land Rover breaker bar that is invaluable. You've probably seen me get some fairly stubborn bottom brackets out with that. I would say that was torqued probably about right, actually, about 40-50 newtons. I'll have to check what that spec of that is supposed to be. Come on, let it go. There we go. So that's I switched to a 1/2-inch drive bit I've got specially for doing this. I was trying to do it on a 3/8 drive, and the 3/8 drives just aren't meaty enough for putting that level of torque through. So there you go. All right, let's just take that out. Chuck that in the pan. Right, so I am guessing that that should either pull off, or I'm going to need an extractor on that as well. Okay, like I said, I've never done these before. It's my first time with an SRAM, but I'm guessing as that was torqued in, I'm going to have to use some kind of a puller to get it out. Question is, what have I got that can do it? Let's have a look in the puller drawer. Right. So firstly, we just need to check to see if it's got the same internal threads for a standard puller. It has. Yeah, the problem is that puller's going straight through. Yeah. A big booger on it. So we have got to find something that we can put on there to brace off against. So the question is, can we put that in just to crack it off? So I could drop a bolt in, but I would rather put this in and just brace off against the surface of that, because that won't eat into there, because there is a recess, so it won't damage the thread. It's just whether or not I can get the extractor in enough to get a purchase to crack it off. So just slacken that off a tad. The question is, will this get enough threads? All right, okay, that looks promising. I suspect there is a proper tool for this that has a wider end on it, but we'll see how we go. I think I did have one actually, but I might have cut it up. So this should hit on the top of that bolt in a minute. There we go. Stick the that's helpful. Sorry, the camera turned off. There we go, nice and simple. So it's it looks like they look very similar to a Shimano Optilink in the way they're constructed. We'll not bother putting that one in the parts washer. It's not going to gain us anything there. Sorry, someone diving into the workshop there. So yeah, they have an inner and an outer race. So just drop these back in here. You can see that where that sits on the other bit, it's just inside there. So the inner race sits on there, and then the drive side race sits on that bit there, and it does feel like it's a separate, either a separate piece pushed in or it's been machined. It's got a definite ridge in it. It's going to feel the bearings. That bearing feels a little bit graunchy on that side, but not too bad. We'll just check it, and if I've got a bearing that size, I'll swap it out anyway. But we'll chuck that in the parts washer, get that cleaned up, get the chain ring off, and swap it out for the new one. Power off. Stop recording. Can you see? Good. Right. So just shut the drawer because it's going to keep sliding open. I'm banging into my leg every 2 minutes and getting right on my nerves. Right, so here's the stuff we chucked in last week to marinade. We've got the rear cassette, we've got that was properly manked up, and we've got that. We'll just give them a quick flush off now, get them cleaned up, and then we can start putting everything back on the bike again. I'll get that cleaned up, we'll get the chain ring off it. Oops, things have gone akimbo. We all right there? Can you see? Good. Right. So just shut the drawer because it's going to keep sliding open. I'm banging into my leg every 2 minutes and getting right on my nerves. Right. So here's the stuff we chucked in last week to marinade. We've got the rear cassette. We've got that was properly manked up, and we've got that. We'll just give them a quick flush off now, get them cleaned up, and then we can start putting everything back on the bike again. I'll get that cleaned up, we'll get the chain ring off it. Oops, things have gone akimbo. We all right there? Might as well work on here, things are here. Let's have a quick get rid of all the bits I've missed. So it is important to get rid of all the crappy old grease, because the crappy old grease that's left on is probably full of bits of sand and grit and shit like that, and what you don't want is that getting into your bearing or mating surfaces. You notice I've put that in the threads as well. Let's just keep all the crap out of the threads. You don't have to do that, but it's just not a bad idea. Right, let's have a look at the teeth on the little ring, because I couldn't really look at them properly before. They do look a bit worn, so I'm probably going to have a look at them as well. Let's give this a bit more oomph. Problem with the stuff in there is it is partially diluted, so what we'll do is just get a bit of brake fluid on as well. Brake cleaner. It's a bit better. Yes, I know I'm banging the teeth around, but it doesn't matter because the big ring's coming off. Yeah, they do look a bit worn as well, them little rings. We'll see how we go with that. And they look a bit shark toothy. There's the one that says what it is. Yeah. So if you look at there, I don't know if you can see the difference. You can see that the one behind is definitely sloping off that way, and that's the bit that causes the problem for the chain to jump. So we'll just quickly get this off. Nice matte finish on that. Shame it's different to the one we've got, but sure they won't mind. That's 6, 5, and a different one on the inside. Yep. Helpful. Snotty today. Two more. I'll let go of that one. And it's over. Can't have it. I want it. There we go. Yeah, they're quite warm then. Good swap. So I get to tell you something interesting about these now. What we'll do, I'll just chuck them in there. Give this one last clean off in here, rather than me wasting away. This is possibly the muckiest one I have ever seen. Filter's blocked up. You shouldn't really do that. You didn't see that. That's a bit better now. I won't say it looks like new, but it certainly looks a bit better. Got me with gloves on as well. Eh? Just make sure we lube the splines up before we put it all back together again. Right. Right, that one's done. Chuck that somewhere out of mischief. Get the inside one ready. Like I said, I think this does look a bit worn, but it's not as bad as the outer ring, so we'll give it a go. Oh, it's got that flipping winter grease on it. See, it's like a rig. It sets hard, and it just does not come off. So that's been through the parts washer. It's been through brake cleaner. It's been scrubbed, and it's still on. So the only thing for it is to get the nail in and chisel it off. So I've said this before, don't use the flipping stuff. It's a nightmare. Just use decent high quality oil. Do not use this winter thick gloopy stuff because it just sticks. And the muck sticks and then it builds up a ridge, and all it does is just wear your parts down a lot quicker and potentially causes your chain not to sit right because it starts lifting the chain up on the teeth. Which, if you've already got a wear on a chair, speaking Chinese now, a worn chain is not good. Right, okay. As clean as it's going to get. Call that like that. Right, what have we got to put on here? Bear with me. Come on, I must have a crappy t-shirt somewhere. Oh, what we got? There you go. Another Dead Great North Run t-shirt. Just try these out. Unfortunately, I haven't got a assembly jig for a SRAM setup, and I'm pretty sure the one I've got for my thing, so we're going to have to do this the old-fashioned way and just sit the parts there or stick them back on the wheel. But I don't really want to stick them on the wheel because one of the wheels I've got to sort out the thing on, so let's just stack it back up nice and neat, and then we'll just go and put it out of the way somewhere. You see, that's a million times better to what it was. Do fingers out. Oh, escaped pinky. And another one. I'm missing one of these. It would not surprise me. That's not clean. That goes on there, that goes on there. Yep, that's good. Oh, we're missing one, or does this one? That one goes on there. We got them all? Yep, they're all there. So these should have, yep, these have all got recesses. So that one, I think that's actually the final one. That's still filthy, that. Clubbed up with that flipping grease. Crappy oil. One, two, the final bit. Newton meters, so it's the same as a Shimano. Right then, let's go and put this somewhere safe. Look at that puppy, looks like brand new. We might get away with that one. Just finish off wiping this one down. Check everything's alright with it. Seems to come out of the parts washer okay. Nothing's dissolved. It's quite light. It's probably a little bit heavier than it's an Apex, so it's not a Force, which I think is the carbon fibre one on the top. So I think these are the kind of middle of the range ones. So it's probably equivalent to a 105 in a Shimano. It's probably about the same weight, to be honest. Interesting markings on the jockey wheels. You can see that they can only serve to pick up muck rather than do anything creative to the experience of the chain. Right then, Mr. Spliney, dig you out of there. Come on, bring me your bits. Oh, stuck down. Cool, right. Let's put this back together. Now, there usually is a mark somewhere on these to tell you which one needs to go next to the and if there isn't a mark, you don't need to worry about it. It's the general rule. Can't see any of these have got a mark on them. So on Shimano, you have a mark that tells you that that's the one that goes to the pedal arm, which is where that bit goes. So that bit's your chain catcher, so that has to go against the pedal arm. Now your writing will generally be to the outside. Come on, Tom, I'll get a grip. There's only on the right side of it. So yeah, that's in the right place. And with these, you're looking for the recess on the back where the bolt hole goes. That's it, and all we need to do is just drop one of these through. Small one on the back. Had to check then because I hadn't paid attention. So big one on the front, small one on the back. So just do them up finger tight first. You don't want the things to lift off. And try and leave a space in between the ones you're doing up as well. It's not like you're tightening down the head on a block or a motor, but it's just good practice to split them out. The liquid thread lock, they would normally be liquid thread locked, and the liquid thread lock looks okay, so do you know what? I'm not going to mess with it. I don't actually know what the torque setting is for these, so I might have to go and Google it. If I had to guess, I would say it'd be about 12 Newton meters. Or on the German scale, Guten Tag. And we are missing one. Not in there. Come on. It's there. Is it buried under something? There it is. I'm going to say I thought I'd been fairly meticulous. Wangy, 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 wangy. Right. And you. take them up to 10 to start off with, and then I'll go and check what the torque setting should be and see what they feel. It is quite important because these can wear loose. Yeah, that doesn't feel like a lot, to be honest, so I think it probably is 12 at least. Oh, we always get an awkward one, don't we? Right, let's take it up to 12. I am snotty today. This one is definitely awkward. There we go. I think we're all good there. Right then. So I think before we do anything else, I think I perhaps ought to give this frame a clean over before I start assembling it. I know I don't normally clean frames, but I think life is just going to be easier with this one if I give everything a quick once over, get all the shit and muck off it, and then I know where I stand. There you go. Stick that back in. Come on, don't be fucking awkward. Stick my finger bits back in there again. Oh, there we go. Gotcha. And that's how you take a nipple off. And another one. Right, let's get that out of the way so I'm not shredding my hands to death on it. Right, I think that's ready to go outside now. We'll give that a clean off. Just get this crank sorted out. I think you've seen these before. I don't put a lot on because it's just to help it seat in the bearing and to keep muck out really. So you want a little bit of a bead round there just to try and keep the muck out from going through, just to act as a catch. You do want some on the splines though, because you do need the crank to pass through there quite comfortably. So lube up the splines, not too much though, because you don't want to get a grease lock. Because if you trap it under pressure, it won't move. That's through. I've just got one piece. I just need to check which way round it goes. I don't know. So this is like a dust guard that's on some of the other bottom brackets. FSAs and that have a separate dust guard that's part of the bottom bracket, but this looks like it's part of the Octalink system itself. So I suspect it has a certain way on to go. And looking at the wear marks, I would suggest that that goes to the, you know what, I don't know. Looking at the profile, I think it goes the other way around. So we'll just swing the frame round again so we're on the other side. Not too tough. Yeah. So the ridges go on the inside, the writing on the outside. You can see where the ridges marry up with the ridges on the thing. So all you've got to do is just line it up with the Octalinks. Which I can't do because I've still got the centre pin in. Nope. Oh, it's going to be awkward. Out we come. Now what I will do is pack a bit of grease behind there for the same reason, because that keeps the grease from getting into the seal bearings. So this is what I was on about, where you see these bikes coming back from the bike shops and absolutely smothered with red grease, and it's coming out all over the place. And all they've done is just squirted it around the outside of this. So you shouldn't see any red grease at all. I mean, I've packed that quite a bit, and there's just a little smidgen when I've overshot. And there you go. You can't see it, but it's there and it's stuck in the muck. Squirting on the outside doesn't do anything. Yeah, make sure you get it on the right way, and it is in line with the other one. Not like a very famous TV advert. I'm sure you all know which one I'm on about. This does need some grease on as well, because this is going to have a bearing surface when it's drawing down. So the threads are still fairly greased, but I'll just redo the shoulder, because it's the shoulder that will be grinding as we tighten that one up. Have to be very careful not to cross thread these, because they are a very fine thread. So if you feel you're having to force it, it's probably it's not right. You should be able to get it in at least a couple of threads finger tight before you hit that. Still smooth. I'm not forcing that at all. So again, I don't know what the torque is on these. because it doesn't actually say it anywhere. So on a normal bottom bracket, when you're talking down to these, you normally go to 40 as well. So what I'll do is I'll go 25, 20, 25, 30, and then take it up to 40 as I feel it go. I will need the bigger torque wrench for this. And we're going to have to go divide by 10 because this is in kilograms. So to get newtons to kilograms, you times by 10, because you times it by the force of gravity, which is about 10. It's 9.98 or 9.89, I think. So so we need to be at a 4. Let's start it off at 20, which is about there. That's 30. Let's see for looking. Make sure it's all the way in. And we'll wang it up to 40 now. Change my mind, let's go all the way. Right, gonna need less of a thing, and I might have to go and get the brush handle back. There we go. I'll check the torque on that, just make sure it is 40 before we send the bike back, because I can always nip it up later. This one doesn't need to be a lot, as I discovered, because it was hardly torqued on at all. So I'll do that one by feel. Again, you've got to be really careful with these that you don't cross the threads. In fact, rather faff about with that thing. Let me get the big centre one out. I can feel the thread better with that. That's it, straight in. It's in here somewhere. Yes, it's not. It's in here. It's in here. Chucked it back in. Just don't want that falling out, basically. So that's it. Spot on that. You see that spinning nicely. No, that sounds fine. I was a bit worried that bearing on the outside was a bit graunchy, but it's not. It was just some muck under the sheathing, so that's that bit done. Right, let's get the wheels on it. Let's sort the wheel out next, I think. Right, so off camera. Sorry, I couldn't be asked to go and set the camera up again outside. I've just cleaned this wheel off. I've just checked it was the back wheel, not the front wheel. Sorry, it's the front wheel, not the back wheel, that have got loose bearings, so we can crack on and actually get the back wheel on, get the chain sorted out, get the derailleurs back on, and then all we've got to do is sort the front wheel out. I did notice there was a bit of oil, and you can see the way the water's beading on there, so we're just going to give this a quick wipe off to get the oil off it. So that's standard car brake cleaner. It's triethanol or something. It's one of the toluenes, like similar to thinners in Tipex that you all sniffed as a kid. So you can see how much muck that's come off there. Boom, back in the room, and as if by magic, here's a wheel. Right, so sorry, battery went flat. Yeah, lost loads of crap off that. We'll call it a day at that. So what we'll do is we'll get the back block on this. We'll get this mounted up, and then, oops, you've got your leg in the old sprocket. Let's move the old sprocket out of the way. Turn the old cart around, and I think we might just have to move you over there out of the way. In fact, well, let's put you there so you're not looking into the window. You get your eyes steamed up as well. Move these out of the way. Sit that down. Right, so I have cleaned. Let's leave that there. I have cleaned a lot of this up around here, and as much as I can. I've cleaned all the teeth of the splines on the cassette carrier hub. So again, you don't need to grease these. I see a lot of times that people do grease them. You don't need to grease them. All you need to do is just make sure that they've got a good mating surface. The problem with these is, if you grease them, the muck gets in them because they're not sealed, and then it just grinds away at it, and it doesn't serve any purpose. They're not moving against each other. What you'll see, you don't have any trouble sliding them on. I'm looking for the big one. Where's the big hole? There's the big hole. So they are the same as the Shimano's, same hub. So that's just gone on. You can see there's actually quite a bit of movement in these. These Shimano ones are actually generally quite loose anyway. I do suspect that this one might be slightly more worn. So as long as the mating surfaces are clean where they're going to sit, make sure there's no muck, sit them on. You build them up. If there's not a spacer built in, you put a spacer in. You look for the big hole again because I've moved it round. That's the big hole. Where's the big hole gone? No, that's not the big hole. Where's the big hole gone? That's the big hole. Right into the outside as well. So you can tell with these, it's always the rounded off bit to the outside. Or if you can see the numbers, you should see the numbers, and they generally go in a line. So if you look at that, you can see the numbers there. If you can see them, focus, right. And they generally go in a line. So if you can't see the numbers, you've probably got it on the wrong way round. I've done it again, haven't I? Moved it again. There it is. So hold to the outside, spacer, right into the outside, spacer. With some of these, they're clever. You can't actually put them on the wrong way around. You see, that's the big hole. That's where it goes on. If I try and turn it around and put it on the big hole, physically won't let me do it with these. I think some of the older ones you could actually do it, but you can't on these. So you notice there's no spacer going on the next one, and that's because it's got its own spacer built in. So with a lot of these, you can actually, in theory, replace the individual ones if they're worn. But to be honest, the cost of doing it to replace two of them is more than buying a whole cassette, unless you drop on one that somebody's selling that's not been used on the ones you want. But then the chance of you finding that's fairly slim. Right. Be careful with this last one and make sure absolutely it is in place before you try and put the last washer on. These do not have a spring washer. Some of the Shimano lower end ones do have a spring washer on. If you look, it's knurled, and it's knurled there. The idea is these two mating surfaces, the knurling clicks together so that it shouldn't come undone. But you're looking at about 40 Newton meters, I think it says. So need the chain whip. Right, so top tip, and every now and again I forget to do it, so I'm sure somebody's already shouted because I know I didn't do it the other day. But if you're doing this properly, please make sure you use the chain whip to put it on. You don't need to because you're going against the ratchet, but 40 newtons is a lot more than you can pedal. Helps if you put it on the right way around. So if you try and put 40 newtons through the tangs in your freewheel hub, you are more than likely going to break your freewheel hub. Had it right the first time. Come on. There you go. I tell you now, that was a lot harder than when it came off. If I videoed it coming off. Right, so just check I've not dropped any more muck onto that, because perhaps I should have cleaned that before I start swinging it around, but there's no oil on this, so but most of what's on there is a bit cleaner anyway. So that wheel is okay to go back on there. So we'll just stick this back on. Now, you do want a little bit of grease on this. Now, this does actually feel like it's still got enough on it, but again, don't absolutely smother it with grease. Just get a bead and rub it over it. You're just trying to stop it so it doesn't corrode. That's all. Nothing else. Remember, lever to the opposite side of the derailleur, and the small pointy piece of the cone goes against the thing, so we don't end up with what we had the other week with that one. When it's on, just check it's centering, it's moving nice and smoothly. Jobs are good, and that can go back on the bike. Stop, record this back in. I don't like putting wheels in on the stand. I know I've said this before, because invariably you don't end up with them seated properly. But just for this, just to get them on, it's okay, to be honest. Right. I could turn the frame upside down. Nearly there. Or what you can do is you can just grab hold of the bottom of the wheel once you've got it somewhere near, and then just lock it off. Just check it's not blowing the frame and it looks about even. Don't actually check to see if these wheels are. Look pretty straight then, not bad. That looks a million times better. Right then, so let's start getting all the bits back on now then. Get the derailleur on. Does have an adjuster stop, so that's okay. We know where to put it. So these have an adjuster, so you can adjust the starting pitch of the derailleur. Some of them do, some of them don't. Some of them rely on you just cranking it down. Most of the modern ones do. So you'll get it in so far, and then you can just take it down till it hits the stop, and the stop's adjusted with a screw. So just keep making sure it's hitting the stop as you're putting it in, and then as you get there, that's it. Just nip it up. Probably only wants to be about maybe 10 Newton meters. These. I'll use my calibrated hand for that one. Click. In fact, no. Let's do it properly. 10's probably more than good enough for this. It's certainly what I'd use on a Shimano, and I can't imagine this is any different. Is that the right one? Come on, get out of the way. Yeah, that's fine. Click, click. We're recording still, yeah. Right, so let's just have a quick check on positioning. Right, I would say that is possibly slightly over adjusted. So let's get the screw gull driver on it, if I can find it. Will do. So what we're looking for is that bottom gear is in line, and I think my eyes are painted on. It does actually look about line. I thought it was about a mil off, but that looks okay. That I think it was the top that was off, and the big bit. So we get the nice, so proper SRAM chain, 10 speed, PC 103. I don't know what was on. I haven't had a look. It was knackered. So remember, this is the one that you could do things that you're not supposed to be able to get a right angle out of a chain. And I'm not even forcing that. And you can see how knackered it was. SRAM PC 1021, I think that says. Just out of curiosity, I might look that up now. 103. 1031. There you go, it's exactly the same one. Job's a good one. Quite pleased with that then. I do like it when we put the same bits back on, or better. Well, sometimes better, more expensive isn't always better. So we'll just take the split links out because we don't want to lose them. And I'm making note that there is a particular direction for these split links. And there is a particular direction for the chain, no doubt, as well, which I'm sure it will tell me on here. No, it just says go to something.com to look at it, but they've helpfully put the packing sticker over it. Oh, there's an instruction manual inside. Right, so just want to check. I don't know why I'm doing this because it's not going to work because the chain is so stretched. I think it's a link out over its length. So we'll probably have to do what oh God, you can see how far that out. So over the space of about 10 links, it's almost 2 millimeters out. And by that far, we are half a chain out already. That's how worn it was. And some bits are definitely worn more than others because that bit just suddenly jumped. Right, it just needs one link taken off it. Yeah, so it just wants one link taken off. The old faithful out again. We got the sheath on. I've left her in here. I did one of these the other day, but I've left her in here. There she is. Old faithful. Put that on there. We'll need that in a minute. So we just need to take one pair out because we're on an expanding split link. You need to finish on one of those, so it needs to go back to that one there. So we just crank it in, and you'll hear it pop as it goes past. There we go. That's it, it's all the way through. That should just come straight off now. Job's a good one. So I think that these go so that you run it, it has to have the writing on the outside. Great, that's helpful, they've got the writing on both sides. So I think this is a universal chain. Yep. It does look that way. It's got the same cutouts on both sides, so it doesn't matter which way up you have it or which way round you run it. Sometimes they have an arrow on if it's got to be a certain direction. Can't see any arrows, but as a general rule, if it's got writing on one side, the writing goes to the outside that you can see. Right, so we'll do it the other way around this time, just to show how much fucking awkward it is. I don't like the way they're jumping off there already. Oh dear. Doesn't bode well, does it? Right, don't lose that. Yeah, so get to a point where the weight's not going to let it disappear. And then it goes around the back of that one. Through the front of that one, over the top of that one. What have I done wrong? Wrong way over the top. Come on, Tyler, get your head together. You're all shouting at me then, weren't you? Going, it's the wrong way, you muppet. I know, I know. Who's the new kid? Now with the Shimano ones, you have to still doing it the whole way as well. Come on, till I get a grip. No, I did have it the right way. Stay to these gloves. I don't want to bother them. That's it. So what we are looking for is to get this hooked over that one. Let's take that back down one. And then just drop that one onto the next one. That's it. So you just want a bit of slack chain there. And then you've got your split links, which do have an arrow on to make sure that you're putting them on the right way around. So, arrow that way. No, arrow that way. It's which way the chain's going. So that goes that way. That one goes that way. Pop them over the top of each other. Give a little wiggle. Get them started and then go and get the magic tool. About £3 off eBay. Well, they're probably not. They're probably about 20 quid off eBay now for the ones made out of Chinesium, and you probably pay about £1,000 for a proper park tool one. This was a £3 off eBay one when they were £3. So you're just looking to get it either side of that. It should lock into its little lugs, and then if you give it a little, there you go. You heard it click. That's it. Come out, just check it has gone all the way, which it has. Put that back so we don't lose it. Take the tool out, put it back in here so we don't lose that. If we can remember which way around it goes. Come on. And in, wind that up. Right, step one, done. So that looks a damn sight. Looks almost brand new. That, look at that. See, parts washer every time. Jockey wheels are nice and clean. It's not in the right gear. That really needs to be up here, but we'll sort that out in a minute. This is not in the right place, so we're just going to adjust that down slightly. I think I've already adjusted it once. Which should we do first, front or back? I can't remember which one that is. That is the back. Pretty sure that's the back. Right, so we need the one that's the right one. So we don't want that one, we want that one. So we'll take that one off. And hopefully I cut it on the right side, which I look like I have. And then sorry, you're staring at my back here, aren't you? I've never done one of these before, so this is a bit of a voyage of discovery. I don't know how you are supposed to put them in or what. I can't even see the flipping hole. I have to go and get a Ned torch. Let's go and get a Ned torch. course, I shot myself in the eye with it, and now I can't see a flipping thing. There's no little hatch or anything to get at under here, is there? Or are we recording? Right, I'm going to make a bold suggestion here. Don't ever buy SRAM. This is appalling. You can't actually thread the cable, the inners, through without taking the bar tape off, because when it comes through there, it immediately pops up and it doesn't go over. There's nothing to keep it down, and it completely misses the end of the cable. So the only way to do it is to take the bar tape off and then physically thread it into this. That is really poor design. I wonder whether we've got a bit of an inny-outy problem here as well, because it's not feeding through. There we go, it's going now. You might be as well just feeding all of that through. At some point it's going to pop out the other end, hopefully. There we go. So now we can get that back in there. That is not a good design. The Shimano ones, you can take a cable out and put it back in without very little effort. It literally feeds through a channel straight in, and at worst you have to give it a couple of little knocks. This feels really tight as well. So I don't know whether we've got a bit of an issue going on with the actual things itself, but that does not feel like a good movement. It seems to be going through there okay. Not brilliant. Do not like them at all. Right, so this one goes into this side, I believe. And that one goes into that side, I believe. So we'll see how this fits through here. I mean, you can see how much it has to bend. It's actually put a bend on the cable as it's come through, and you've got to be really careful now that we don't. I can feel the core has moved, which is never good when you're trying to thread a cable. So let's just feed you through that one a bit easier. Come on, don't be awkward. that does not sound like there is an inner in there at all. Right, stop recording. Stop recording. It's starting to get dark. Clocks have gone forwards now, so we are getting a bit more light in the evenings. Right, we've got a bit of an issue. The inner that's in here isn't connected to the outer bit there, so I'm going to have to go fishing. There's no fishing ports on this bike, so I'm a bit pissed off with Planet X because they've obviously not fastened the inner in properly, and when the cables come through, it's just dropped down. When you push the cable through, the cable's hitting on the seat post. There. It's not going anywhere near, which means the inner has now disconnected. So I've got to try and get my finger down there and push the inner across so it comes through, and it's going to be fiddly as anything. So the first thing I need to do is, so we don't mess up the setup of the bike, is mark where the saddle was before we take the saddle stem out. So I don't know if you can see that. Yep, plan A is a bust. There's no hole for you to get your finger in, so it's one solid tube, and that's formed around it. So I'm going to have to go and have a think about this. Right, sorry, I cracked on a bit while I had the camera off. I was getting a bit annoyed with it. So I've given up the other side. I'm going to have to go and do some research, possibly talk to Planet X, to find out how they're constructed and how they do this. Because I can't believe this is the first time this has happened on any of their bikes. So fish the other side through. The other side's gone through, no problem at all. I did have a lot of problems getting it through those handsets again. It really does not want to turn those corners. It just would not have it. It took me several attempts to get it to bite to go around the corner without it actually chewing up the cable, which really you shouldn't be having to do stuff like that. So we'll just get this the back derailleur buttoned up. At least we know that one's done, and then all I've got to do is sort out that front derailleur, or convince Jerry to ride one up. It's not the way we roll at the lockdown workshop. Much swearing will be had, but we will do it in the end. Right, so in theory, that should be, just check it is snugged up in all of them. Just give it a quick. That's very tight. This whole arrangement up here is absolutely shocking. That's just not feeding at all. Right, I'm going to have to go and do some digging at this, because I don't know, the whole routing through there just seems way too tight. I don't know what's up with it. I don't know whether that angle there's too tight, but there looks to be that's the only place it could exit next to that. The inners could be damaged, but it doesn't feel like it. It's got a bit of a kink in it there, but there's nothing that would suggest it's damaged. But that is, if I can't pull this back with my hand, there's something wrong, and I'm pulling that in, and it's easing up a bit now. But no, there's something definitely not quite right there. So we'll right, back again. Next day. Yeah, ran out of memory on the video, so I missed a whole load of the stuff on here, from getting the chain on, cabling, finishing off the cabling on that. That was an absolute pig, because you've got to get the cable around the back of there, and I'd not realised. So it's cantilevering right, and it was clamped. I don't know if I commented on it, but I could see from the witness marks that it was clamped on underneath, and it should have been clamped on over on that one. I don't think it makes a lot of difference, to be honest, but because it's riding off the back of that fulcrum, there's like a pivot point on it. It's quite a clever little design. I still hate SRAMs. I have freed up this this arrangement here. I think I mentioned was really tight, and it still is tight. The tension on the spring on here isn't enough to pull the resistance that the cable's got going through this bit here. I think that's heavily corroded and gunked up in there, so I've given that a really good blast out with some brake fluid and then re-greased it. It seems to have freed up a bit, but I'm seeing there's a kink in the cable there, and it does feel like it's slightly damaged, and it could be that end bezel as well, but it is dragging from here through there. After that it's fine, so there's too much friction in this bit here, so I might still end up taking that out and seeing if I've gotten some more cable and swap that. I'm not very happy about that bend there. It looks like it's got a kink, and if the inside's got compressed, it'll grab the cable, so it's a little bit too draggy. They are working. It is going up and down through the gears. I'll show you quickly. I've got the cable in this one, and it's through to there, but as we discussed, the inner that's actually glued into the frame has come away at this end, which is a bit of a nightmare. So I think when I was doing the video, I say you normally test to see whether it's got an inner in it, and then you slide a piece of sheathing over it so that comes out, and then that gives you something to feed the cable back through, and then you pull this out, and then jobs are good. But this, there is some of this already glued in there, but the glue obviously wasn't glued on properly at this end, and this end of it's dropped is inside the frame. So when you feed the cable in, the cable just ends up rattling around in there, and it can't come through the tiny little hole there, and you've got absolutely bugger all chance of doing it. So I've got a couple of options, because it looks like with the brakes are a cable that go through anyway. Now I don't know whether that was originally like that, or somebody's drilled it out and then put the cable in. So that's one option, is to have a cable, to have an outer that runs all the way through the frame and comes out, instead of going into these bits here. So that's one option for it. The other option is that I try and remove what's left of the inner that's in there and pull it out to get it out of the way, because at the moment it's serving no purpose whatsoever, and then feed a draw line through, so fish a new line through, and either pull through some of this and try and glue it in, which is going to be very hard because they glue them in when they put the cups in, or I do drill out the retaining cups at either end and just feed a cable through like that is. So that's just a cable through there. Now I don't know whether somebody's already done that. I'm going to have a look at it. It is possible they've already had this problem, and that's the fix that they've used. It is difficult to tell, but that's one option. So get that out and either put that in or drill that out and then fish one of those cables through, and then that future proofs it. There is a way I can draw some of this through, and then use this to feed that cable through, and then you pull this out, and that's how you do it on the Holsworth. But Holsworth's got fishing points for you to get your fingers into. As you saw earlier in the video, I can't get my finger in there. I haven't had a look what's in there at that end, but I don't think it's going to make much difference. I've got a secret technique. It's not really a secret technique. It's a technique we used to use for fishing cables under floors in conduit, using either compressed air or a vacuum cleaner, for me to try and get a thin thread through and out of that hole there, because it is literally tiny. You are talking about hitting a hole that is smaller diameter than that at that end. So you've got no chance of actually just prodding something through and hopefully getting it through the hole, because the hole's actually angled as well, so it would never go in. So I'll give that a go, and if I can't do it, worst case scenario, I'll have a word with Jerry, and then what I'll do is I'll drill the cups out and feed a piece of brake cable out. It's not an ideal solution. I don't like it, but it looks like that's how the back brakes are anyway. So I'm kind of, well, do you know what? Now, I think the back brakes might be done like that by design, actually thinking about it now, because it's quite conceivable that these bikes were made to take hydraulics. So you would have a cable in there hydraulic wise anyway. So hey ho, it is what it is. At least that one went in okay, even though it is a bit draggy. But we'll fix that. Everything else has gone on fine. Still got the front wheels to do. Oops, let's not tie all the cables. Still got the front wheel axle to do. Don't know why the video turned off there. So I've still got to tighten that up. That's got a bit of play in it. It's not much, so it just wants cleaned out, re-grease and nip it back up again. Brake disc need cleaning. This is fine now. I'll actually show you this. Let me just set the camera down on there. Can you see that? Yep, you can see that. So down. So it's nice and crisp. It does actually work. But then you get to the last bit and there's not much tension on the spring. So these last few, especially that last one, doesn't quite go, and then eventually it will go. It says, and you can tell it's the tension on things. If I do that, it goes straight away. So there's not enough tension. There's not enough tension on that spring in there, which I can't adjust, but there's too much friction on this cable. So I have tried Teflon in it as well to try and make it a bit better. And it does seem to be freeing up with a bit of grease, but I shouldn't be able to lube the cable to get it to go through. There you go, see. Yeah, so there you go. That needs to be sorted out. But we'll don't do that at home, kids, because that's really silly. Yeah, we'll crack on with that. Like I said, it's possibly this needs replacing. It's got some damage in it, either at the bezels at the end. I'll work it out which bit it is that's dragging, and we'll sort that out. I don't think it's anything in there now, given the fact I've blasted that out and re-greased that. That does seem to be moving a lot better now. So it might have been a few things. Anyway, right, so I just wanted to do a quick video the following day just to close it up, because when I had a look at the video this morning, it just finished. So we'll put this up as part 2, and then there'll be a part 3, and I may or may not video that going through there, because there is going to be a load of swearing, and it will just be a long time of me trying to get something from there to there, and then making a decision on how we proceed with that. But hey ho, I probably will give Planet X a ring, just see if they've got any ideas about it. I can't believe it's not happened before. I guess I've been lucky on all the frames I've had that I've never had it where the inner sheathings come away at one end. I don't know why it's come away either. I suspect it's just not got enough glue on it. The cable was damaged inside, so there was a filament off in the middle of there, so it's possible that it could have punctured its way through, and it's pulled it as the brakes have been going, the gears have been going up and down, and it's just pulled it out of the retainer, and it's just happened over time. Who knows? But we'll get it fixed. It's not, somebody made it, so it can be fixed. There you go. Right. We'll call that a wrap. Might be about 2 weeks before getting more videos up, because I've got to go somewhere next weekend. Anyway, keep watching, like and subscribe, please. Anything you want to say on the channel, just let me know. Anything you want to offer, any advice and support about any of this, feel free to comment. I'm sure you will. And don't forget, if you've got anything with a motor on that looks like it needs fixing or something like that, I do like motors, so please just hit me up. More than happy to have a look at something. Thank you. Bye.